everybody. Welcome to Trusted Herd Live. This is our third episode, first episode this week, action-packed week. And I'm your host, Brian Fox, founder of Trusted Herd, and doing Trusted Herd Live because as we have this little break, we usually, owners are busy running their business and getting new business for all of us to work. And we thought, wouldn't it be nice to learn a little bit about these entrepreneurs that everyone works for and often doesn't know anything about their backstories. So very fortunate to have the founder and CEO of Forte Event Marketing with us, Miss Buffie Amoroso.
Hi, thanks, Brian.
You're very welcome. Welcome. Before we start, we should talk about doing a little bit different. I know the first couple episodes, I had my yellow Trusted Herd zip up on, very different. Buffie is also a very big White Sox fan and said, hey, I'm going to wear a jersey. And I go, hey, I can't let you wear a jersey on your own. So I'm rocking my 83 Sox jersey. This is going to be the year that we'll probably win the World Series. And it just so happens that the season is postponed. So we're going to add a little bit of baseball into it. So we're rocking the Sox jerseys. That being said, Buffie, do you kind of miss sporting events?
Very much so. That's why I'm living in the Jersey right now.
I am
closer to baseball.
I am also very missing pro sports. I was watching a video game sporting event yesterday, and I was like, this is not the same. But we hope everyone can be back at the ballpark or stadium, and I thought it'd be fun to throw up the 9 most common things at the White Sox game. So we're going to run through them. I want Buffie to pick 3, and I want all of you all watching pick your 3 too. So starting upper left, we got the Chicago hot dog. No ketchup on this hot dog, mustard only. Next over, we got the elotes, Mexican street corn. Used to be $3, now it's like $7, but that's okay because we're supporting the White Sox. Bacon on a stick, the always popular. We got the Cubano sandwich after Minnie Minoso. The middle, this year, Goose Island actually came out with the Golden Ale, a White Sox branded beer. It's very good. I've tried it. We got some tacos there, the big old nachos in a life-size helmet. We got a Polish sausage with grilled onion and mustard. And last but not least, the French fries that look like, what do you think there? Chicken, blue cheese, just goodness, things that you're eating under the hot baking sun. So, Buffie, you can pick 3. Which ones are you going with?
It's a tough call, but and I've had, I think, all of these at the game. But, obviously, hot dog, everybody has to have bacon on the stick. We can't go to a game without my husband getting bacon on the stick. And, I mean, we are in the adult beverage industry, so Goose Island, all the way.
All the way. We got to. You actually had a chance, didn't you, last year, go to the Goose Island section?
Yes, we did, and it's super cool with the L train car there, and we took our recruiting director, Dale, there. It was so much fun. Love it.
Yeah, it's a blast. So hopefully we will be back sooner than later and everyone else, and we can also do some events too. Yeah. All right, so getting into Trusted Herd Live, let's talk a little bit about Forte Event Marketing. If we were to have just met today, let's say at the ballpark, having the hot dog, the beer, and I go, Buffie, what do you do? How do you tell me about Forte Event Marketing?
So funny, I should be way better than that. Every day I try to develop a new way to explain it. What I always hope comes out of my mouth is that, we create brand experiences through personality and knowledge and adding that little special touch to an event, whether it be sampling an amazing product or making an impact at a large event arena, like swagging up the place. But what I actually typically say is I usually just say, have you been to Mariano's or Publix or whatever your grocery store is and seen someone sampling an adult beverage? We've probably provided the staff for that. Or a wine festival, we probably provided the staff for that. I usually keep it pretty simple, and I've got to do better at that, Brian.
That's okay. That's all right. I'm still, to this day, we're 4 years into Trusted Herd, and you explain it so many times, and still, it's like the how you position it is always evolving. So I have faith, Buffy. You will get it. We'll all get it eventually. Very cool. So that's Forte Event Marketing, and events in how many states or geographic regions? What are we looking at?
So we are what we call nationwide, but we do have dominant markets. So Florida's always been kind of our rock star market. That's where we started. That's where I'm originally from. Second is definitely Illinois, Chicago area, but we staff kind of all over. We've done quite a bit in Georgia, DC, Virginia area, North, South Carolina, but it always shifts based off our clients. But right now, Florida and Chicago are definitely our rock stars.
Excellent. Okay. And you were taking this call, you were based in Florida or Chicago?
Right now, I'm in Chicago. Yep.
In Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
The rest of the team, not so much.
All right. And we'll get to the team in a little bit here. So before you got into the world of doing events, what were you doing before that?
So many things, probably like many others. I always had some sort of little side hustle of sort, but I was in the restaurant business for many years, bartending and serving. And before I began my first career in real estate in 2004, working with my sweet mama. So that was prior to Forte.
Okay. And then what was your first experience in the world of event marketing? And not even just with Forte, but how did you get introduced to it?
Yeah, so it was 2007, and I wish it had been earlier. I would have done it throughout college, but I don't know why I never knew about it.
Yeah.
But I was working in real estate, and a gal that I worked with.
What's your first experience in the world of event marketing, and not even just with Forte?
She worked with me at ERA, and she mentioned that there was a company that needed people to rock in-store demos. So that led to my first sampling event for Palma Liqueur in Destin, Florida. And if you haven't tried it, it's really good, and it jazzes up a nice martini. So.
And after you did the first event, were you kind of hooked, or was it just one of those, hey, maybe this is a one and done kind of thing?
Yeah, no, I loved it. So I started doing in-store demos, and then on premise at restaurants and bars, and then did a fun little event for Geico at one of the air shows. That was like a mobile tour, but I was one of the people that were in the area, not on the tour itself, but that was a really cool experience. I was like, okay, now I want to go into mobile touring. Like that got that. But yeah, so no, I continued it, until I started Forte as a side gig, and of course turned into a little more than that. So
yeah. All right. So what year was Forte founded?
Forte was founded in October 2010.
October 2010. All right. So we're coming up on 10-year anniversary, right?
Yeah. So yeah, we're just in our 10th year. We celebrated this past October as with the team, with a cruise, because it also coincided with my 40th birthday. So yeah, so we've just been celebrating our whole way through this year.
Yeah, excellent. So back in 2010, at what point was there a tipping point that you said, okay, I want to start my own company?
Right. So yeah, absolutely. So obviously, as I mentioned, I was in real estate. So I think a lot of people are familiar with 08, 09. The real estate market took a big downward spiral. So my side gigs were definitely ramping up. And so I guess at that point is where I thought, okay, I really enjoyed the event industry, and obviously that's what was kind of keeping me afloat. I got into kind of the position that a lot of people did at that time, where you're just trying to make ends meet, trying to, make your mortgage payment, that sort of thing. And so I then, loved the business, and I thought, well, maybe this is something we can kind of do full time. And so out of kind of like, I guess, the housing crisis, Forte was born. So yeah.
And when you started it, was there a purpose or a mission behind starting it? Like, hey, I know how this works, but I really want my company to be this.
Right. So Yeah, I guess, with everything you hear, you work with brand ambassadors, so that was super easy. I was a brand ambassador, so you hear firsthand what they're looking for. And of course, not knowing everything that goes into the business side, you think, oh gosh, it's so easy to make all of that happen, right? And that was the goal, and we did our best. But the one thing that I always heard was, people, everybody's working because they love the job, but we all have to make a living. So, paying timely and that sort of thing was a big key. So
Yeah.
I just kind of took it as, I didn't have a big business plan or anything like that, and maybe I should have, but I just kind of took it as, if we just start this business, do unto others as you do unto you, as you want them to do unto you, kind of thing, it works out. So I just built relationships and tried to listen to, what I heard from distributors and everything, and just
Yeah.
try to do our best with that. So
Yeah. No, that's great. And so when you say we, was there somebody else who started Forte with you?
no, but I always say we because now we have a team.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
transition from I. But I guess we would be my husband because, whether or not he wanted to, he was a part of it. So
I think that's like one of the biggest unsung heroes in all entrepreneurial couples is the spouse or the partner is it's your number one cheerleader, right?
yeah.
I mean, they're your support, they're your rock, and especially if you're a solo entrepreneur, I mean, it's me as well. I know Enza is huge with Trusted Herd, and she's just that person that can kind of you can reset with and relax with and say, just everything that's bouncing around in that head, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Good sounding board, give some direction, especially because they know you a lot of times more than most yourself sometimes. So yeah, super helpful.
Yeah. All right. So Forte Event Marketing, where did the name come from?
So my mother always used to use the word forte, like that's your forte. And so it was just kind of natural that Forte's my forte and now our forte.
Yeah.
So that's where it came from. Forte Event Marketing. I mean, that's a long email handle. I probably would have rethought that one a little bit, but that's where Forte came from. So
That's great. That's great. How about we have the name. What about the logo? Did somebody design the logo for you, or did you take a stab at it yourself?
So that's really funny. Yeah, so we started the company in 2010, and I know the logo came in 2015 when Vicky, who works with us, she was the first person that came to work at Forte, and that was like her task. She had a graphic design degree, and I was like, we need a logo. Whoa, I like gray and white.
Yeah.
Have at and that was it, and it's still the same, and
Awesome.
yeah.
That's really cool. I think out of the first 3 episodes that we've done, like the logo question is always, gosh, I see it everywhere. I see it on the website or the portal as a worker, and it's just one of those questions that I don't think anyone ever knows much about. So,
Yeah.
all righty. So you start Forte Marketing. You have the name. How about first client? What do you remember about your first client?
Everything. And I still in touch with him to this day, thank goodness. So, no, his name's Sean Campion, in case you're watching. He used to be with Premier Beverage. He was a distributor, and he's now in DC. But I will not forget, it was November 23rd, which was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving of 2010. He sent 3 events, 3 in-store tastings our way. Of course, one of the most popular days of the year. And one of those locations was Paradise Liquors in Pensacola. And store owner, Bob, super nice guy. Anyways, I had a no-show on my very first event. And at that time I lived, because of course, I mean, nothing's going to go wrong with this business, right? I mean, like, I wouldn't.
Never.
But I lived 45 minutes away at that time in Fort Walton Beach. And I remember Sean calling me, not being incredibly happy. And I was like, I'll be there in an hour. And I rushed. I worked the event myself, kind of kicking and screaming the whole way because I was trying to transition on to the other side. And it was by far the best thing I could have ever done. Bob referred us to RNDC. Sean wasn't at RNDC yet, who also referred us to our largest client today. And Sean and I we kind of actually have a little joke. I didn't tell him until many years later. I was like, you were my first event ever, because you don't tell people that. You have to act like you've been doing it forever.
Right.
And he was like, really? And so now it's kind of a little inside joke that if it wasn't for him, where would we be, right? We might not even exist. So yeah, definitely remember the first event.
Everything is simple as, and I say this lightly, but as simple as event marketing is, whether it's staffing or executing events or being out in the field, like the opportunity when the opportunity comes up to go the extra mile, it is so appreciated by your team, by the person on the other side, by everyone who's trying to pull together this event. And it's almost those moments that can springboard you, similar to Forte, because what if you never get in your car and you never go to Pensacola, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now, yeah, I think about that all the time. You're exactly right. So
yeah.
So glad I did.
All right. So we have our first client. How about, was there one client or project that you remember that you were like, okay, I think we're maybe making it, or this is becoming bigger than just going like event to event?
Not that we've made it. Because I don't know if I ever think about making it. But when we receive, I guess what probably impacts us the most that we've noticed things like we've made it is when we receive like a kind email or a text from a client or even a brand ambassador, and they always seem to come at the time we need it most.
Yeah.
That's what validates us and says like we're doing it, that we're serving our purpose and we're accomplishing our mission.
Yeah.
So I say that I see that we're doing it more. But,
yeah. That's such a good point, because so often you're in the trenches, right? And it's that unexpected email or text message that you then send around to your team. You're like, oh, look at this. This is like that morale boost that we needed at this exact moment.
Exactly.
So for all the workers that are watching out there, sometimes just a simple check-in text or an I appreciate you. You don't need anything. Just a little thank you goes such a far way to your recruiters or anyone that you're working with. So, all right. So we had Forte Marketing in 2010. We got some clients. We're growing. And to grow a successful business, you need a team, right? So tell us a little bit about the Forte Event Marketing team and what you appreciate about them the most.
Yeah, so I love them so much. I'm not just saying that. And I will truly try to keep this short and sweet, but they're really too fantastic, not to mention by name. I feel like every single person on our team just makes us whole. So Victoria that I mentioned earlier, she was our first. She's our director of operations. She's in Washington State. She is a good friend. My husband and her husband were in the military together, and she literally came in to organize my office one day.
Yeah.
I just need that, and she never did. And I was like, don't you want to invoice instead? So she started invoicing, kind of done everything since. So she's definitely the complete opposite of me in a lot of ways that makes us very balanced. And then Alyssa Mercado, she's our accounting director. And she came to us in 2017. The really cool thing about Alyssa is that she kind of turned her passion for numbers into her own business. So she's our accounting director. She's always part of our family, but she's actually operates her own company now. So I think that's super cool. And then we have Rachel, which a lot of people know on all the Facebook groups. She was a brand ambassador with us. She came to us in 2015, and then in 2018, she's about to have her anniversary. Whoop, whoop. And she is like so detail oriented. So she does a lot of the event submissions. She's our client service director. And then Dale's our recruiting director. She's in Georgia. She's also my cousin. So I've known her forever, but she came to us in 2018, and she's so sweet. Brand ambassadors love her. She's just the best face of Forte. And she's a mad staffing queen. So that's awesome. And then we have Farah as our social media master and tech guru. She's doing all the Forte glow up that people see, just really good at like exciting the brand ambassadors. She came on in May of 2019, and then Ashley came on in June of 2019. So she completes our little circle here. She's in Navarre, Florida. She's our client service director, and she's just, her personality is infectious. She's so bubbly. So I just love them. They're all amazing. And yeah, I can't say enough great things about them.
Yeah, yeah. I also love them. Since starting Trusted Area, I think one of my favorite things is I get to learn a lot about pretty much all the agencies out there and have candid conversations. And quite often it's not just with owners, but it's also their team. And, you know, I think the one thing that a lot of the good companies share is like, these are great people. And a lot of them have worked out in the field as brand ambassadors previously, or they know what you're going through out there. And it just makes communication in life so much easier.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, that's on the team. And how about yourself? So, done real estate, and we've now done Forte event marketing, and we're going into 10-year anniversary. What habits do you think makes Buffie successful, besides having a wonderful team around you to lift you up?
Yeah, that is definitely one of the biggest things. So what habits make me successful? I always think about, you know, some of the things that I feel like make me successful are also the things I have to like kind of, you know, reel in as well. They could also be the opposite. I'm a Libra, so I require balance for sure. But the word, I want to say absolutely. Like, absolutely, I can do that. Absolutely. Like, I try not to meet anybody with resistance in anything. Just absolutely. We'll figure that out. We can do that. Just taking that and just incorporating that into everything that we do. I think that that's what makes me personally successful. I'm, like I said, I'm naturally kind of like an obsessively hard worker, and that be a bit of a fault sometimes, because we all need a work-life balance, and you know, it wears on your personality if you don't have some. So so saying yes and maintaining balance, I think definitely kind of contributes to my success at Forte and just as a person. So
yeah, no, I think those are two very good things, and probably as you progress in your career and get more experiences, you probably get a better feel, right, of that balance of how you can relate those two items. So
absolutely. It's like you're always working on yourself. That's one thing. Like, no matter what I'm like, I'll say something and I'm like, oh, you know, especially in electronic communication, it's tricky these days. There's a lot lost in electronic communication. So I'm always trying to figure out ways how to say things that come across the way that I want to share that. And I'm always trying to work on myself. And I think, and there's always something to work on, you know, I mean, like,
always.
Yeah. So
Always. How about along the way, maybe one or some of the biggest lessons that you've learned that have impacted kind of your outlook of how you approach things right now?
So one of the biggest lessons I've learned. So I guess a lot of things that impact the way that I work right now is just my real estate career. I was raised basically at ERA with the same broker because my mom was there for 30 years.
Okay.
And I've still got my license hung there and all of that. And she is very much like an inspirational type of person. She empowers people. Just to kind of be the best that they could be. So she would provide the tools that inspired you to be successful, but she didn't do it for you. So I feel like watching her mentor people without doing their job definitely impacted the way that I try to work and try to, you know, be there for people, and then in turn people be there for me. So I think that just kind of watching how she drives the success of her people and helping them be successful is kind of what I kind of learned from her in that way. So yeah.
That's a good answer. Like, I think parents have such an impact on kids growing up, right? And there's moments that you learn along the way. Like, I'll never forget, I think I was in middle school and I was on a traveling soccer team out in the suburbs of Chicago, and all my friends quit, right? And because we had this really, really tough European soccer trainer that came in, and all of a sudden practices went from like fun to this is like work, right? And kind of took the fun out of it. So all my friends quit, and I wanted to quit halfway through the season. And I'll never forget, like my dad said, you can't. You're not allowed to. You made a commitment, and you need to follow through on that commitment. And then when that commitment's done, you can go ahead and make whatever decision you want. And, you know, it's something that to this day, like I still remember, but I think that parents have such a great impact on all of us, especially entrepreneurs.
They do. You don't even pick up on it at times. And, you know, you think about it, like it just hits you one day and was like, where did I learn that? I learned that, oh, my mom used to say that, or my dad used to say that. And you kind of pick up on that. And both of my parents my dad was a business owner, and you just like, you don't, I mean, it's just things that you pick up on it later in life, and then you put it into play, and it makes you realize as an adult that, you know, you try to share those same things with the little ones in your life too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Transition model, hopefully.
Well, right now with Alessia, I can't really do that. I just keep turning on Frozen 2. So
Right.
Elsa and Anna are providing the lessons at this moment. All right. How about this as we shift a little bit to workers, because we have workers that are watching this and workers that will continue to watch this after we're done being live. What's one piece of advice that you would give to an event worker on anything?
Sure. Well, and I think the piece of advice probably applies to anybody in the workforce, I feel, and I tell myself the same thing all the time. But just treat every moment like it's a networking opportunity, a first impression. It'll help you build your business and grow it as big as you want to. You never know who you're chatting with or what door can open for you. I mean, that happened in the case with me with going and working the event, right? I didn't. That opportunity was there. So just really making every impression a great impression for you personally, but regardless of your relationship with the brand or the company. If you do that, that will speak volumes to you as a person, and you'll succeed in anything you do. So I that's would be the best advice I guess I could give.
What an awesome answer. And it's just natural that it leads into a lot of people are going to watch this and they're going to go, Buffie sounds great. Her team sounds wonderful. I love the story. I want to work for Forte Event Marketing when the events come back. How, I guess, one, what do you look for in workers that that you end up hiring and work with? And two, how can they find you?
Sure. So what do we look for? Personality, professionalism, a can-do attitude. When I said that what I feel a trait makes me successful is absolutely, like that's what we look for. Absolutely, we can do that. You know, absolutely, I can promote a product that, you know, like I always use the reference now, one-ply toilet paper. Nobody likes one-ply toilet paper.
Nobody.
Don't have to like it to promote it. You just gotta be professional and have a can-do attitude, and be understanding. I would say every business and industry has successes and things that fall short at times. I know I definitely fall short at times, and we're all going to make some mistakes. The store is going to make mistakes. The distributor is going to make mistakes. I would just say being understanding during those times, and like how you work through those understandings. One of the greatest traits. So showing that into, you know, in an interview, and just, you know, having that natural energy is definitely something we look for. And then where can they find us? So our website's a work in progress. I mean, it's always just been a website that's been up there. You can connect to us through that. Dale is our recruiting director now, and she's amazing. You can contact any of us, but Dale at forteeventmarketing.com, DALE, that'll go directly to her. But you can go right to our website at forteeventmarketing.com, connect with us right there, and you'll get any of us, and we'd love to chat with you. So
yeah, excellent. And I know you guys do a lot of recruiting on Trusted Herd as well.
I do. thinking, of course. And
I
trust me.
know, such a softball question right there.
Okay, so there's a fall. Don't just focus on yourself. Focus on those.
No, 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 no.
Just kidding. Yes, I trusted her. Dale, Rachel, the whole team is very active on there. So
Yes. Perfect. How about this is the last question, then we can kind of get into audience questions. So if anyone has any, feel free to drop it in the comments. Otherwise, I think I have a couple that I've always wondered about. So especially when it comes to liquor, wine, and beer. So what I love about Trusted Her Live is everyone has started out by being not a business owner. At one time, you weren't a business owner. At one time, I wasn't. McCall with Norton National and Paige with Next Level Marketing. For anybody that's watching this right now that is considering taking that step, what advice would you give to someone who's looking at becoming a business owner?
Yeah. So I've touched on this a little bit. You never know where the opportunities will come from. I can't stress that enough. So what relationship you build will definitely help build your company. Be open to learning from others, nurturing every relationship, and just go for it. I mean, what do you have to lose? You'll lose more by not trying than giving it a shot. And you'll find your success in your business. It might not be the little sector you started off at, but it'll wind into something beautiful. So
yeah, I love that because you know, when I was debating if I wanted to start Trusted Herd, I knew it would be a lot of work. I knew it was a big task to try to. It's bigger than a platform. It's like a community and trying to make the whole industry better. But the one thing that always came back to me was, well, what if I don't try? What if I don't do it? You're always going to wonder, hey, what would have changed, or how would that have played out, right? And so I think with being an entrepreneur, like there's always this, just go for it. Just start moving, right? I mean, you said it when you were talking about starting Forte. You were like, probably didn't have much of a business plan, and maybe I should have, but I just went for it, right? And here you are, 10 years later.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's just, you have one life, right? Live it, and if that business doesn't work out, it might lead to the next business. I mean,
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
All right. So in terms of questions, I have a few that I've heard people ask in the past. So liquor, wine, and beer promos, where did the 3-hour sampling come from? Like, I believe that would be what, off-premise, right? So is 3 hours just like an industry standard? Does it come from anything more than this? It doesn't work. It's law of diminishing returns.
So yeah, that's a great question. Have no idea where the metrics came up on that one. I know that it's 3 hours are what they typically ask for. I would venture to say some of it is budget. I would venture to say they try to capture the 3-hour time frame that's busiest. So, for example, their in-store demos, right? The off-premise is typically an in-store demo. So, store traffic patterns, like the Fridays 4 to 7, most they capture people, right when they're getting off work, and after 7 o'clock, people are typically home, unless it's a liquor store or something that has a little bit different of a traffic pattern. So I don't know where the exact metrics came from. I know now budget drives a lot, because sometimes they'll try, sometimes people ask for 2-hour demos, which we're saying, at that point, we kind of keep 3-hour as a minimum, just to make it worth it to the brand ambassador to drive there and back as well. So yeah, I wish I had an answer for that, but it's always just been that way. So maybe, I don't know, maybe someone who's been longer in the business, maybe they developed it. I don't know.
Well, on the 3-hour question, I mean, I always see a ton of liquor, wine, and beer demos that are off-premise, that are always, it's like they always seem available, and it almost seems like there's always opportunity out there in a lot of these markets, but maybe people are a little driven away because they are only 3 hours. can you maybe talk, Buffy, to, hey, like I can actually string a lot of these 3-hour demos together, and maybe I can knock out 2 in a day. Like, do you have people who work for Forte Event Marketing who just do a ton of demos and rate because of it?
Right. So, yeah, a lot of them do. They are at the same time. So that does present a challenge. Fridays, especially when you're talking about in-store demos, 4 to 7, a lot of times they want them that time. On the weekend, sometimes it's easier to string in-store demos together because typically speaking, all day Saturday, a lot of times is a good time. People shop all day.
Yeah.
So we can definitely, I think that's where it's really beneficial to while in-store demos happens to be kind of where we're specializing at the moment, just because that's where it took us. One day clients might take us in a different direction.
Sure.
And when that happens, we'll have events that are open at different times. I think that's where, though, it's beneficial to work with multiple companies, because you do have companies that might be specializing in a different type of brand that doesn't have to meet a certain time frame, or is a different type of event that you can kind of stack with the in-store demos. But yeah, it is challenging that a lot of them do come, they are all at the same time to try to capture that high traffic pattern. That's where we started doing, which I know a lot of companies are doing, the recruiting incentive, because I remember when I was a brand ambassador, you hesitated to give up to refer people because you didn't want it to take away from your job opportunity.
Sure.
But a lot of the opportunities happen at the exact same time. So that's when we said, let's pay people for their referrals when they work an event, and that way we can keep these opportunities coming. We can continue to staff them because that'll help us get more opportunities. But then we were also giving you something for assisting us with that. So we try to spread the times out, but unfortunately with in-store demos, it doesn't happen. So that's where, I diversify the portfolio, I guess, would be a great way,
Yeah, absolutely. And how long does it take typically to get like it's not a liquor license, right? It's a certification that you can do liquor demos. How long does that process take typically?
Sure. So every state is different in their requirements. Like, of course, Illinois likes the Bassett certification. Florida, there's a wide variety that you can do. Tips is a very popular one. Typically, it is a 3-hour, like Tips, for example, or the Safe Serve, that sort of thing. I think at the most takes about 3 hours. At the most, it might even be down to an hour these days. But it's on the computer, and that particular one lasts for 3 years. So that's something we shared with our brand ambassadors. Depending on the state that you're in, if you don't have the certification, getting it. Not all clients require it. Some states do, but almost all clients favor it if they don't require it. And I definitely think that insurance purposes and reasons for that, they definitely will in the future. So, yeah. So
it seems to me like a lot of people, a lot of workers out there should probably invest in doing one of these classes for the 3 hours, because if it costs $60 and maybe there's probably a lot of demos that are like average is $25 an hour maybe.
Yeah, depending on the city. Yeah, exactly. I know that hours, depending on the city and the area, that we always pay a minimum of 22.
Yeah.
And Florida, Chicago's definitely carries a higher rate because of the cost of living and whatnot. But yeah, no, it's great right now where, and I don't want to say we don't all have downtime or that sort of thing, but we can't be stimulated outside with sporting events and things of that nature. So it's a great time to kind of invest. We do the same things on our end with taking different continuing education classes or trying to learn from other agencies. So I think it's great industry as a whole. But I do think if there are clients and distributors that don't require it, which most of them do, I do think they will in the future. And it has hindered us from being able to staff certain people by not having those requirements. So it's your certification, build your business by getting it. It could only enhance you. So
3 hours pays for itself after one event. And again, it's like I always see these liquor events coming up or beer store demos. They're like, hey, last second this afternoon, can anybody make it? It's like, yeah, I'd love to make it for $75 to just go talk about this wine.
Exactly.
Right. All right. So one more question,
Mm-hmm.
and then I want to talk a little bit about what you're doing with Forte Event Marketing during this time. Um,
Okay.
so I'm really fascinated because the liquor, wine, and beer, spirits, sampling and staffing isn't necessarily a world that I come from, but I do find it extremely fascinating. And is there, um, people go out and they might do these big festivals or events and all of that. And I think in those you get really good at maybe multitasking as like a brand ambassador, right? As like a skill set that you can build. Um, what are some of like people that workers that do in-store demos or even on-premise? Are there certain skill sets that you find that they build and they just become better at versus standard events at like Taste of Chicago? Like, is it selling? Is it any of that?
And I mean, I think every event has the opportunity to become, good at like engagement. But I think in-store demos, and I'm going to call myself out here, but I do this sometimes. You go into a store and you've got to get in, you got to get out, and you just run past them. And that's so common, and that's like. Easy to take that as even rejection sometimes. I think that people get really good at consumer engagement, like finding some way to connect, and that's with business. So I was on a call with Ashley today, and she's a brand ambassador. She works with us as a brand ambassador as well as on our internal team. And one thing that she had said was, what she does is like if somebody's wearing a jersey like this, you can be like, go Sox, and get their attention,
Yeah.
and just kind of that engagement, whatever that looks like. I feel like they could become really good at that if they're really passionate about it. I think one thing that sometimes we don't think about maybe doing as often that is huge is just really getting to know the people that work in the store. Uh,
Yeah.
that's something that they often become good at, and that becomes a relationship that evolves, and they end up. We have one of our guys that work with us all the time in Boca, and he goes in with a bow tie. He's amazing, and we call him our best VA in a bow tie. And he walked into his local Publix that he hasn't worked at in forever since COVID-19 or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, beer man in the bow tie, where have you been?" And that's one of the coolest things, is that with the brand ambassadors go in and they really just become friends with a store. It makes it so much easier to work on those engagement, strategy things. But I think that's where in-store demos, they become really good at engagement. You have to get creative because, people are shopping. They're not at an event socializing, so you got,
Yeah, it's like this big opportunity for a high personal touch point because there's not 10,000 other people around you. It could just be you and that one individual, right?
right.
And it almost makes it a bigger opportunity to share your story about whatever brand you're promoting because it's that much more impactful.
Absolutely. Another great thing, just as I'm thinking of it, a distributor gave this to me, but is asking people for their opinion when they walk up. Everybody loves to give their opinion instead of like, so it's kind of like changing what used to be like a typical sales strategy into that conversation. And, so yeah, they become really good at that. Yeah.
That's really good. All right. Well, you have passed the test. We've played 20 questions. You have done a phenomenal job. It's been a lot of fun. Before we do take off, I want to give you the floor a little bit so you can tell everybody what you're doing with Forte and your team and spritz, sips, and more.
Yeah. So obviously we've all had, or I don't want to speak for everyone, but for us at Forte, we've had a little extra time to become creative, figure out, where we should kind of put our resources with our internal team. So before I get into the fun side of it, one thing that has been a work in progress for years now, but has really been in a work in progress in the last few months is our talent portal and our client portal. So we as a team has been working with an app developer who has everything developed, and we've been testing it to make sure it's great and ready to roll out. It's going to simplify everything for our brand ambassadors, kind of keep everything in one place. from payments to events to all of that good stuff. So Rachel has really been working behind the scenes to make sure that all looks good for everyone. So that's something that is to come, and we're hoping to roll out soon, because I think, again, it's a great time for everybody to learn before the events ramp up. And so hopefully that'll allow us all the opportunity to even staff a little more. And then the super fun thing that we're doing is we did it daily for a few days, and we've gone to weekly on Wednesdays, where we do Forte spritz, sip, and quarantini challenges. So if you saw any of our ridiculous videos from our retreat back in January, we did a little mixology with Forte where we were just having way too much fun we thought it would be a great idea to try all of these different recipes that we ask our brand ambassadors to make. We're like, okay, we're in the comments on the recap forums. We need to know what these taste like. We need to know, we need to give our own feedback. And so we started creating these silly videos just, out of fun. And that's where the spritz comes from. So we kind of took the spritz and the sip from sheltering in place and a quarantini challenge into Facebook Live videos. So it's weekly on Wednesdays. So every video is meant to just kind of humanize us a little bit as a team, get to know us a little bit more, and hopefully we get to know you through your comments and everything. Share some fun tips and things of that nature that you could be doing during this time, and you share those with us. And then the quarantini challenges are fun industry-driven competitions. So we've got a lot more coming up, but every competition ends up with a winner, and it's just our little way to spread a little Forte stimulus during the downtime. So we've got our next one is coming up on Wednesday. It's actually with a local R&DC distributor in the Panhandle. So that's a kind of an interview with him. It'll be a great way to kind of hear it from a distributor perspective. You know, so many moving parts in the event industry, which I didn't even realize until I was knee deep in it. So he'll be a great one to watch. Super funny guy. So, but yeah, so that's on our Forte Facebook page, and it's Wednesdays at noon Eastern, and super fun. But like I said, it's also a way to earn a little extra cash or get some good ideas, but anything that we can kind of do to help everybody until the events come back. That's kind of been our goal. So we're also here as a team. Everybody, you have our emails, Buffie at Forte Event Marketing, or going to our website, but we're happy to answer questions, or if you are looking into, doing some continuing education programs. We think it's just a great time for us all to learn and grow. So that's kind of been our focus, along with the IS demos and rolling out our Forte app and all of that. So that's where we've been headed. We're hoping that, at the end of the day, it's kind of our silver lining approach. We figured, we've been trying to get to all of this stuff, and now we have a little bit of time to. So kind of take advantage of it.
And hopefully just a little bit of time, right?
Hopefully just a little bit of time. Yes. So, right. Exactly.
Well, Buffie, this has been so wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing the story of Forte Event Marketing. It's been an absolute blast. This week is the first full week of Trusted or Live, absolutely action-packed. So today we have Buffie with Forte Event Marketing. Every day we got a different owner or founder of an agency that you guys know. So tomorrow is A+ Staffing, same time, same place, every day. Wednesday is 8 days a week. Thursday is In Vogue Marketing, and Friday is the Grayscale Agency. And on this front, I think last week I started to float this idea maybe on Monday or Tuesday. And I had this goal that I didn't know if it was realistic, but I wanted to do one of these each day for the entire month of April. And now we only have 3 days left that can be booked. So if you are still a founder or an owner of any event marketing company, please feel free to send me an email, fox@trustedher.com. We would love to have you on and tell your story, because these are very often the stories that none of us really get to hear or know. So with further ado, thank you again, Buffie. This has been wonderful, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
All righty.